What's up guys, Josh, aka SavageHydraa here, and welcome to episode number 5 in the How To series, hoping to give you everything you need to know to start planning, building, and using your own competitive Pokemon teams. Last time we looked at battle items and all of the likely items that you'll probably need or want or come across in competitive play. And this episode we're going to be looking at something that was almost completely pivotal to the singles format in like 6v6 singles. It's not so much common in things like 3v3 or any doubles or VGC, but in 6v6 singles, entry hazards, which we'll be talking about today, are one of the biggest contributing factors that eventually started dominating the meta of the game. So we'll start off with the most common of the entry hazards, Stealth Rocks. Introduced in Generation 4, the move description is basically it lays floating rocks around the opposing team. It basically just deals damage to opponent that is switching in. So it's pretty simple in what it actually does and what it achieves. It's extra chip damage when your opponent is switching in and out. It harms all Pokemon, with a few exceptions being things that basically have Magic Guard, which means that Magic Guard is an ability that something like, say, Clefable and Alakazam both have access to, which prevents damage from anything that isn't a direct attack. Damage is based on typing though, specifically the weakness to Rock, which is the type obviously of which Stealth Rock is assigned to. Neutral damage, so if you have a neutral, if you don't resist or are not weak to Rock, it will deal 1/8 of maximum HP on switching in. Weakness or resistance doubles or halves the damage respectively. So up to half of maximum HP if you're 4 times weak to Rock, for example Charizard and Talonflame, and anything like say Bug Flying types as well, or Bug Fire like Volcarona. Any of those things that have a 4 times weakness to Rock will take half of their maximum health in Stealth Rock damage on switching in. Anything that's only 1 times weak will take 2/8, so 1/4 of their health. And then if you resist Rock instead, it goes down to 1/16 and then 1/32 of the maximum HP. So something, say, like Lucario is fighting and Steel, so it 4 times resists Rock. It'll only take a very, very, very small smidgen of its health to Stealth Rock damage when switching in. This is by far the most common entry hazard you'll see in use. It's pretty widespread in what can actually learn it, and it's really, really, really useful for anything from breaking Sturdy and breaking Sashes to forcing switches and forcing certain Pokemon in to like try and clear the hazards and all that sort of thing. So Stealth Rock is probably one of the things you need to be most prepared for in 6v6 singles. It's not always present, but it's something that you either want to use or have something to get rid of it, or both. So it's one of those really important things to take into consideration. Sticky Web is the next entry hazard we'll be talking about. It's probably the second most common, although it's much, much more exclusive in what can actually learn Sticky Web. Basically, the function of Sticky Web is to lower the speed of an opponent that is switching in by 1 stage. Flying and levitating opponents are immune to the effect of Sticky Web, so basically only things which land on the floor are affected by the move. But yeah, so it's basically a speed control mechanism to try and curb things from getting a bit out of control with the speed and give yourself an innate momentum advantage by having the Sticky Webs down on the field. There are only a few things that can learn it though, the most common being Galvantula in UU, and that is the highest tier thing that can learn Sticky Webs. It's the most common thing you'll see actually using it. And a couple of alternatives there are Shuckle, Ariados in lower tiers, as well as Crookatune also works in lower tiers to get some Sticky Webs up. Livani is also another option, and then finally Masquerain. Masquerain is a bit unique in the fact that it gets Sticky Web as a Surskit, and then it has to evolve to then have it on the Masquerain. So a Masquerain won't learn Sticky Web, but a Surskit will, and then you can evolve it, much like, say, getting a Spore on a Breloom. Moving on to what I would consider to be the third most common entry hazard, is the Toxic Spikes. These apply poison status to any Pokemon that switches in. Obviously, if they're immune to poison, say is that they're a poison type or a steel type or have immunity, then they will already have another status effect applied to them. They will be immune to the effect. Also, being a move that's on the ground, flying and levitating opponents are also immune to this, much like Sticky Web. One layer will apply regular poisoning, and 2 layers will apply toxic poisoning, so the badly poisoned status. Toxic Spikes are also cleared if a grounded poison type is switched in, so something like Muck or Nidoking or like a Venusaur, they'll all land on the ground the Toxic Spikes is on and basically soak it up and get rid of it and clear the field. This does not work with something like Crobat, and it doesn't work with something like Weezing because they're both off the ground, so they don't clear up the Toxic Spikes. Although Crobat can also clear them with Defog. Defog's quite common on Crobat, so that's another option. But generally, that's one of the easiest ways to get rid of them, because you switch something in on the Toxic Spikes and it clears them out. So another one that's good for doing that, say, is Tentacruel, because Tentacruel also has Rapid Spin to help clear away other entry hazards like Stealth Rocks and Sticky Web. The last one, and probably the least common entry hazard, as far as I'm concerned, I don't really see anyone really using spikes, the regular spikes. These basically are functionally like Stealth Rock, as they deal damage to an opponent that is switching in. Again, being a ground-based move, their flying and levitating opponents are immune to the effects. Damage dealt is based on the number of spikes layers rather than typing based like Stealth Rock is. So 1 layer of spikes will deal 1/8 of maximum health, 2 layers 1/6, and 3 layers 1/4. So as you can see here, 3 turns of setup gives only a fraction of the benefits that Stealth Rock has in 1 turn. So this is why Spikes is pretty much neglected, and just Stealth Rock is preferred as the wider, easier, more reliable option. Because Stealth Rocks affect more things, less things are immune to it, and it will, on the whole, generally deal more damage as well. So the last thing to mention on this video to do with entry hazards is actually removing them. There are, as I said before, Toxic Spikes can be removed by a grounded poison type landing on them. But there are also a couple of other ways of removing hazards. The first being Rapid Spin, a very, very low damage offensive move. It deals a small amount of damage, it's very low base power, like base power 20 I think. But it clears hazards and removes binding effects such as Wrap, Fire Spin, all that sort of thing, and also Infestation is another one that's a binding move that it removes, and Leech Seed is also removed by Rapid Spin. Wrap being a normal type move, it is blocked by ghost types, so if an opponent is clever and predicts your Rapid Spin, they may try and switch in a ghost type to block it, because if Rapid Spin misses, its effects don't apply, so it doesn't clear the hazards. And it only removes hazards on the user's side of the field, which is a bit of a bonus compared to the other method of removal. So you can set up all you want on the opponent's side of the field, and then feel free to Rapid Spin for your side of the field, because it won't clear the things on the opponent's side. The alternative to Rapid Spin is Defog. Defog has the main function of lowering evasion, as what it was introduced to do, as an HM as well, to clear foggy areas like weather effects out on the field. But it also removes hazards and wipes away screens like Reflect and Light Screen. So it has a few additional effects, much like Rapid Spin does. It is preventable though by Taunt, seeing as it is a status move. It's a taunt. Being taunted will prevent its use. and it also has the other downside of its effect being applicable to both sides of the field. So if you set up loads of entry hazards on the opponent's side of the field and then defog to clear your own side of the field, it'll also clear the opponent's side. It's an entire field move, so that's something to take into consideration when actually using the move, and whether you want to do that or not, and whether the benefits of clearing the hazards off of your side of the field outweigh the benefits of having the hazards remain on the opponent's side. Of course, you've got the situation where if you take out the opponent's hazard setter and then go in and defog, you can always reset up your hazards with your hazard setter if you've still got them alive or not knocked out, and then you're risk-free because the opponent's hazard setter is down, so they can't reset up the effect on your side of the field, and then you don't have to worry about defogging ever again. Anyway, that should provide you all the information you need to know on entry hazards. Next time, I think we might be looking at weather and the different effects of the weather systems that can happen in-game. Other than that, this was probably a little bit of a shorter one. There's not really a lot going on in this video. Entry hazards are pretty binary in what they do and easy to explain. So if you found this useful, then do leave a like, or if you think that anyone else could find this useful that's not so experienced, also leave a like, because more likes is more spread, so then more people can see this and get the information they need out of it. If you like this kind of video and want to see more to help educate yourself in all things competitive battling, do hit that subscribe button, because then these videos will appear in your sub box when they are uploaded. And if you think there's something that I've missed in this video, or something that I can improve in these videos in general, then do leave something down in the comments below as well, and I'll be sure to chase those up. Anyway, that's it for today, so thanks for watching, and I will see you guys in the next video.